Hello and welcome. My name is Greg Crawford. I am the editor of TABB Forum, joined today by Marc Lepere, Chairman and CEO of Lepere Analytics. Marc, thanks for being here.
Thanks for inviting me, Greg.
So Marc was here a few months ago and we were talking about investment research, and at that time, Marc, the company was Vox Pop Investing, and you've since changed the name to change the focus a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
We specialize in understanding the consumer by identifying a unique group called the predictive customer. And we very simply wanted to focus in on our data set and on the analysis of that data.
Okay, and so speaking of the data set, there's some new data that you guys have captured that is indicating a change in the investment research process, is that right?
Yes, it's recent data from December last year, and it is focused very much on identifying the sources that investors most value when they're taking investment decisions, the sources of investment advice. And we see a very fundamental shift in the 2 years since we've been tracking this particular question. And I think it's centered around a move from professional push to investor pull. And when that happens, of course, the electorate's involved. And that means that the government and the regulators are starting to get involved, which I think explains some of the energy behind the pushes into expert networks and channel checks and the like.
That's interesting. So is this shift something that's going to be short-lived, or is it really a fundamental, almost a systemic kind of change that is going to be with us for some time?
We believe it's systemic. It's happening not just in the investment world, but in many, many industries. And in fact, this graphic, I think, will demonstrate that not only is it systemic, but that it's happening very, very rapidly indeed. You can see here in February '09, the green bar, which is the I don't value any source at all anymore, is rising very, very rapidly from the bottom of the chart there, February '09 to December 10. It's gone up by over 20 points in that time, in what, 18 months? Equally, the blue line, which is the financial experts, investment professionals, wealth managers, if you will, that's going down by about 20 points in the other direction, as you can see. And very interestingly, the rise of this predictive customer, defined here as knowledgeable family, friends, and colleagues, is very static, but is now clearly number 2. And I believe this year, in 2011, we'll actually overtake the investment professional. Okay, so then if there's different research going on, if you will, what's the what's the final, what's the end game, if you will? I mean, what's the next step? What's the next conclusion, or the conclusion that the investment community might be able to draw from this to move forward? I mean, I think that the methods of doing research have to change.
Okay.
In very simple terms, what we do is we ask these predictive customers to predict brand momentum versus competitors about 2 to 6 months out. And clearly that's useful for many people in many different ways. I think the way people have to conduct research, and I think we're a good example, it has to be much more compliant friendly, if you will, and much more transparent and open. So to give you some examples, we don't have a panel of these predictive customers. We recruit a new sample in every single study. The entire sample is always anonymous. The fieldwork is conducted by a third-party specialist company who are in turn governed by a code of ethics from the market research industry, quite separate. And lastly, we're dealing with very, very large, statistically valid samples as opposed to individuals' opinion.
Right.
So I think overall, people just have to be a lot more transparent in what they're doing.
Right. And based on anecdotal evidence or when you're out there in the marketplace, you're finding more reception to this type of research, the model that you've got, right, as opposed to that sort of push methodology, right? So it's being validated when you're out talking to people.
Absolutely. I think for 2 reasons, not just the, if you like, short-term compliance issues, but people are really understanding that brands equal pricing power, and that's going to be really important in the next few years.
Right. Well, that's great. Well, and certainly the need for investment ideas and where those get sourced and what people are doing is always something that that the industry is working on and trying to figure out. So I think it's really neat to hear some more information on your approach and how that's gaining traction in the marketplace. So I appreciate your sharing that with us. So thanks for joining us. Again, my name is Greg Crawford. I'm the editor of TABB Forum, joined by Marc Lepere, Chairman and CEO of Lepere Analytics. Thanks.